Chapter 23. Shadows in the Archive. Doug Weapon kicked the door shut behind him, balancing the grease-stained paper bag in one hand while shucking off his work boots with the other. His apartment was a disaster zone, littered with crumbled notes, half-read books, and empty cans of energy drinks. But he barely noticed. He was wired. His brain buzzed like a live wire as he dumped his dinner on the coffee table, ignoring the food entirely as he sank into his chair and shook his mouse awake. The glow of the screen washed over him, illuminating his face with an eerie, artificial light. The dwelling gods. His fingers hesitated over the keyboard. There was something about the name that made his skin prickle, like stepping into an abandoned house and realizing it wasn't as empty as it seemed. You've gone down rabbit holes before. This is just another one. Just research. Just words. He exhaled sharply and started typing. The dwelling gods, pages upon pages of New Age fluff. UFO cults, fictionalized Atlantean myths, half-baked esoteric blogs that read like someone had dropped acid and found a typewriter. Doug clenched his jaw. This isn't it. I know there's more. He narrowed the search. The dwelling gods plus Trismegistus. A shift. Gone were the crystal shop blogs and sci-fi junk. The results were older now, deeper. He clicked through pages that looked like they hadn't been updated in a decade, broken links and dead forums littering his path. Then, a flicker of recognition, a name buried deep in a forum he hadn't seen active since college. Pillar 83. Doug's stomach tightened. The last time he had seen a post from that name, it had been in a thread about pre-human civilizations, a thread that had been scrubbed from the internet within a week. The post was old, dated over a decade ago, but the words sent an icy blade down his spine. They weren't worshipped as gods. They were the keepers of knowledge, the stewards of something older than humanity itself. Trismegistus wrote in code, but the emerald tablets were a warning, not a revelation. They didn't just dwell. They waited. Doug's breath hitched. The Bahama anomaly isn't new. It's just the first time we've been able to see it for what it is. And we're looking in the wrong place. It's not the ruins that matter. It's what's buried beneath them. His mouth went dry. He scrolled down, looking for replies, citations, anything. But the post was alone. No context. No follow-up. Doug's hand hovered over the trackpad. His logical brain screamed that this was just another internet ghost story, another half-baked conspiracy theory that didn't hold water, but his gut told him something else entirely. This wasn't just coincidence. This was a trailhead, a piece of something bigger, something real, something waiting to be found, and he wasn't sure if that thrilled him or terrified him more. Doug stared at the screen, the glow from his monitor the only light in the room. His takeout sat untouched, the grease cooling in its paper prison. His fingers twitched, hovering over the trackpad like they were waiting for a sign. No comments, no replies, no other posts. It was as if Pillar 83 had dropped this fragment of knowledge into the void and then disappeared. But that wasn't surprising. If Doug had learned anything from his years scouring obscure forums, it was that the real truth, the kind that rattled the foundations of everything you thought you knew, was never neatly laid out. It was buried, obscured, threaded between half-truths and outright lies. And if you dug too deep, sometimes the hole swallowed you whole. He dragged his cursor over the page, copying the text, pasting it into a blank document. He'd learned long ago to keep backups of anything that made his skin crawl like this. Things had a way of disappearing when they got too interesting. Then he clicked on the user profile, Pillar 83. One post, no other activity, no history. Doug frowned, leaning forward. That was odd. Even burner accounts tended to have some footprint. An IP bounce, a reply somewhere, a registration date. This was nothing. A ghost in the machine. A burner account before burner accounts were a thing. He bit the inside of his cheek. Okay, think. If I wanted to hide something but still leave a trail, where would I put it? Doug scanned the page source, running an old habit check, hidden metadata, odd comments in the HTML, encoded messages. Nothing. Then, he saw it. A single hyperlink buried in the post, formatted as a barely visible period at the end of the last sentence. Doug's pulse spiked. That's not normal. He hesitated, his cursor hovering over the tiny, almost imperceptible dot. His logical side screamed, "This is stupid, reckless. What if it's a trap?" But his gut, the same instinct that had led him down every rabbit hole worth chasing, urged him forward. He clicked. The screen blinked. A new page loaded. A dead black background, nothing but a simple line of text at the center. If you found this, you're asking the wrong question. Doug felt his stomach drop. Below the text, an input field blinked expectantly. A prompt. A challenge. The weight of it settled on his shoulders. This was it. A line in the sand. He could close the page, walk away, pretend he never saw it. Go to work, pay his bills, keep his life predictable, stable, safe. Or he could cross it. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. Doug Weapon had never been good at walking away. He typed, "What is beneath the ruins?" and hit enter. The page flickered. Then, one word appeared. A word Doug recognized immediately, because it had been in the tome Miranda was dissecting, buried deep within its oldest pages. A name that sent ice crawling down his spine. Ephraim. Doug exhaled sharply, his pulse hammering in his ears. This wasn't just a wild theory anymore. Someone else knew, and they were watching.